Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doom Productions podcast. I'm your host, Jordan, and if you're a regular fan of the show, you'll notice that I am once again missing two other people, at least one other person. Usually I'm joined by Ethan and Zach, the co-hosts of this podcast, where we discuss all things movies, making them, watching them, our advice, our experiences on making movies, and all that sort of thing. But today it's just me. It's been kind of an eventful week. Not necessarily busy, but eventful. There's been a lot of big things happening this week. Some big revelations, no, plans. A big plan was made this week, and I will share more on that. Well, I'll kind of hint at what it may be talking about near the end of this thing, but the bigger stuff is coming next week, so sit tight. But anyways, all that to say, it's been a big week, and especially for me, it is now officially summer. Today, I'm recording this on a Tuesday. It was my last day of school today, not as a student, but as a staff member. We got out on the 21st of June, which is, you could just feel all the students and all the teachers just dragging their feet to the finish line. Everybody has been so tired and so just, ready for summer. And it was weird because last week we had a full week of school. Then we had a 3-day weekend because of Juneteenth. And so today on a Tuesday, we came back and we had a field day. So it kind of felt like we already went to summer last Friday, but then we had to go back, and now it's actually summer. And it's been it's kind of weird when you are getting out of high school, I guess, from my memory, where you go to school K through 12 and your whole life is centered around that school schedule of fall, winter, spring, summer. And then during the summer there's nothing, but there's school for 9 months out of the year. And when you get into college, that kind of shakes up and changes a little bit. It can. I know if people go into different professions, obviously they're working year round, or maybe if you're a student, that's, a year round thing. But for me, right after I graduated college, I went right into working at a elementary school. Not this one. I worked at a different one. And that was pretty, it's kind of hard to explain. Finishing the end of my college career, from doing school since I was in kindergarten, going all, 12 or, probably 15, 16 years of just school, including college and all that, and then graduating and then going right back into elementary school, right back at the beginning. It's kind of a weird feeling of just like, oh, this feels very familiar, but different, but strange, but I don't know. That's a very specific part of working in a school. But it's also a benefit because, as I've said before, what I love about working in a school is that I have a lot of free time. I'm not a teacher. I'm a paraeducator. I work exclusively, well, not exclusively. My job title is an ELD paraeducator. There's a lot of different names for what ELD is, but you might know it as ESL, ESOL, ELD, English language development. So what I do is I work with the students who come from other countries or families where English is not their primary language, and I'm supporting them in both English language development as well as just their normal schoolwork. But of course, I work with all the different kids in the classes. I get to know everybody, and it's a fun gig. I like doing it, and I'm not a teacher, so at the end of the day, I get to go home and I have the whole day ahead of me to work on movies or writing or drawing or doing whatever I get to do. So that's really nice. And I also have summers off. And because I'm a permanent employee, I get paid throughout the summers. So for the month of, end of June and July and August, I don't have to be there. I don't have to work or do anything, but I still get a paycheck because what they do is they divide up your check they calculate how much you're going to work. They calculate how how many days you're going to work, how much money you'll make, and then they divide that number by 12, and they give that to you for 12 months out of the year, and that's how they do it. And again, I'm getting very specific. It's probably not, well, I guess if you're not in education, you probably don't think about this. So yeah, I mean, here, enjoy a little educational behind the scenes knowledge on the education field. That's how it works with paraeducators anyway. And I love it because I get summers, I get winter breaks, I get holidays, I get my days free. I'm not having to take work home with me. There's parts of it that I don't like. There's parts of it that I really enjoy. But I find it's a very fulfilling job. My one complaint, honestly, it's a job, I've been considering going back to school and becoming a teacher, and something I'm really leaning towards, but, who knows what life has in store. But I have been really kind of, I just lost my train of thought. Anyways, it'll come to me later. Paraeducator work. Yeah, it's great because I have all that time off and I'm not a teacher, so I don't have all the responsibilities of I don't have to call parents. I don't have to grade papers, make report cards, go to meetings, all that kind of thing. Oh, here's what I was going to say. My only complaint, the only reason that the thing that would, like, I could do this, I honestly feel like I could do this job forever if I was paid more, because I'm not making a whole lot of money. But, there's always someone with less money than me, and there's always people with more money than me. And I'm just going to try to be happy with where I am and look for opportunities to make more moolah elsewhere when they come up and all that. But that's, again, I'm getting very specific. It's summertime is the big meandering point I've been trying to make. Things are cooking at Doomed Productions. As I said, we had a big meeting, couple big decisions this week, some fun filming opportunities. And, now that it's into summer, I guess there's a segment in our show called What Are You Working On? What Are You Watching? But it does feel kind of appropriate to talk about that up front here before the main topic, because it just feels relevant because it's summer. I got a lot of free time on my hands, and I want to kind of talk about what I'm doing and what's kind of going on a little bit before we get into our main topic of today. So the things that we're working on here, obviously, that I'm shooting La Danza. We just shot for a little bit this last weekend. We're going to shoot more this upcoming weekend. It's going very, very well. Film is looking gorgeous. I say the same thing every week, so I'm going to try to think of something new to say about La Danza. Here's what I can share, because I'm going to keep it under wraps for most of it. What I'll say is that I'm working with Raquel Amezcua, who, if you haven't seen her before, she was in our short film version of La Danza. The way the movie came about was we made a short film. I mean, this is the very condensed version. There's a more elaborate version, but essentially we made a short film. I love the short film. I like the idea of the short film. I like the character, and I wanted to expand upon it. And in that short film, you see our lead actress of the movie, Raquel. And Raquel is a dancer. Well, she was a dancer. She was huge into dance. She did lots of hip-hop conventions, lots of dance competitions. Pretty well ranked, actually, in dancing and everything. But I think it was when she got into high school, she kind of lost interest to a certain extent, wasn't as into dance. But, she's a trained dancer. She knows how to do all sorts of different styles. But primarily it's hip-hop. But she also trained in ballet. So something I can talk about with this movie is we're getting to do something which I've never really done before, which has been really exciting, which is incorporating a new art medium into the film. In this case, it's dance, which has been really, really cool and interesting and fun to work with Raquel, and creating these movements and treating dance as kind of, as integral to the film as the music or as the cinematography. That's been a really cool part of the process, which, I don't think we've ever had a dance sequence in any of our movies before. Now, I will say this, we're not having full on, La La Land sequences or anything like that. But there's kind of like dance stuff involved. I mean, it's called La Danza, so that means, dance in Spanish and I think Italian as well. Um, and all you people who speak Spanish primarily, I know it's bailar is the primary word that you use, but La Danza is used sometimes too. I'm sure you know. Um, Anyways, yeah, it's been really, really fun getting to collaborate with her and someone who comes from another art medium, someone who's artistically minded, and getting their thoughts and ideas into the process. It's it's been great getting to collaborate with a new person, which is, I guess, what I'm trying to say, and that's been a really fun part of the process for La Danza. We're also working on Wild Boys 3. It's coming. The boys are coming. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. It's going to be big. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's some funny stuff we got planned, some big stuff too. And I'm hoping we can pull it off. So if you hear this and you're like super hyped and we don't pull it off, I'm sorry, but we tried. I believe the plan is, I mean, I'll just be fully transparent with everyone. Um, Ethan and I have kind of overlapping trips, and I think Zach might have something going on, but essentially we're not going to be able to start shooting Wild Boys 3 until the second or first week of July, essentially. So a couple weeks we're going to start shooting. And that just means we get more time to plan, which is super duper awesome. So, and yeah, I think I was going to start dipping into, not spoilers, but I'm sharing news that I shouldn't be sharing. So I'll just keep the rest to myself. But we're working on some big stuff. Some fun stuff is coming up. And what I hinted at earlier was essentially we had a meeting this week and we made a pretty big decision for a big plan that we have going on. So not to worry anybody or to upset anybody or overly excite someone or get someone, in a just, confused or, anxious or, what, not to do any of that. But we have a big, big, big announcement coming next week on our podcast. So please, if you listen to nothing else in this podcast, just take that knowledge away. Next week, next Friday, I don't even know the date. Let's see. It's not June anymore. It's the 1st of July. The 1st of July, tune into our podcast because we have some big news coming, some big stuff. And it's going to be a full in-depth kind of conversation. We're going to go over some stuff. All three of us, Zach, Ethan, and I, we're going to cover everything. And it's sad news, but also happy news. But, I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. So tune in next week for big news, big update is what I should say. Yeah. So production-wise, that's kind of what things are going on here at Doom Productions. When we went into the year, we kind of told ourselves, "Oh, let's take things easy. Let's keep it, light this year." And of course, we are working on, let's see, 1, 2, 3, well, I'm not going to put a number on it because I don't want to promise anything or over-deliver or over-promise, but our summer is very packed. We got a lot of stuff going on. So it's exciting, production-wise. Very, very exciting. And it's also nice because it's great when we get time to just focus all on film work. I mean, Ethan has another job that he's doing, but he is he's on summer. He's been on summer break. Actually, Portland Public School District, they've been on break longer than my school district has. So it's been really great for us being able to get together and not have to worry about work, and we can just have all day to film and plan and do all that kind of stuff. It's been really, really fun. And along with that comes the watching movies thing, because we're filmmakers. We like watching stuff. I'm going to kind of skip over. I mean, this is kind of the what are you watching on segment from our usual show. It's kind of not. I guess what I'll say is what I actually don't know. What have I been watching? I mean, what I've been watching hasn't been that terribly interesting. I mean, I rewatched Tarzan, Emperor's New Groove, which was, fun stuff. I rewatched Prometheus and Terminator Salvation, all kind of watches that I've been doing as I've been drawing, and I'll put it on the TV. I'll draw for a couple hours as the movie goes, and then, I'll by the end of it, it's kind of like I've seen the movie, but I really haven't, but I kind of have. Anyways, that's what I've been watching. Those are the movies that I watched most recently. But what I'm really excited to do, how this is relevant and how this relates, is I am super duper excited to jump into some YouTube filmmakers and watch some films made by YouTubers that I haven't seen, because as the school year goes by, or as life has gone busy, people will send us movies, people will send us works or recommend things that we should watch that they think we'd enjoy, and there's a whole lot of stuff that gets sent our way, surprisingly. And what happens is, whenever someone sends us stuff, I just drop it in a personal playlist that I have for myself. If you send us stuff, your film is at the top of the list. If you don't send us your stuff and I just stumble upon it on YouTube, I'll put it on the list, but it's kind of near the bottom, because it's when I know that a filmmaker personally reached out to us and sent us a movie of theirs, I take that very seriously, and it means a lot to me, because I know what that's like, sending your work off to someone. And because of that, just life in general, and I want to set aside time to watch those films with my full 100% attention. So I watched Tarzan, Emperor's New Groove, Terminator, Prometheus. I watched those movies over this past weekend, but I didn't really watch them. What I did was, I was just looking for something to put on the TV as I drew for, 2, 4, 6, like 8 hours as I was drawing over the weekend. I just needed something to put on the TV as I was drawing. So I wasn't really paying attention, and I would take breaks. I would pause or stop, or I would go on my phone as the movie's going. I'm not a very active viewer when it comes to just kind of casually watching things. It's more like background noise, for more or less. And every now and then I'll make a special thing out of watching a movie at home, because obviously watching a movie at the theater, that's the best thing in my opinion. But so when I really want to pay attention, what I'll do is I'll turn off the lights, I'll turn off my phone, I'll get popcorn or pizza or snacks or whatever, something to eat, and some drinks, and I'll, turn off the lights, close all the blinds and everything, and I will pretend as if I'm sitting in a theater, and I'll press play or whatever, and I will watch the movie, and I'll just tune everything else out in the world. Now, watching movies like that during a busy school year, that's very kind of hard for us to carve time out of the day to do, especially when we're making movies on top of that, all in that, and when we have other things going on. So that is the context that I like to really actively watch, I should say, and enjoy and engage in movies over the year. That's how I loved to do it. And that goes for, movies that I love and care about, if I'm watching something like Seven Samurai, or like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or whatever, I'll do it that way. If there's a new movie coming out, like if I just it's not out yet, but when Everything Everywhere All at Once comes out on Blu-ray, I'm totally going to do with that. So Hollywood movies, but also that's how I like to do YouTube movies. When I see a movie on YouTube, what I love to do is I like to turn off all the lights. I like to close the blinds, turn off my phone, shut off the entire world, and actively engage with the film. I don't like it to be background noise. I would feel absolutely terrible if someone sent me a movie and I kind of lied to them and was like, oh yeah, it was good, this was great, blah, 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 but knowing full well that I didn't fully pay attention, or I didn't watch it, or I didn't finish it. It's important stuff. Your movies are a part of you and your life and your personality, and you're sharing that with us. And for that, that's awesome. So thank you to everyone who sent us a movie. I deeply apologize that it's taken, I can't speak for Ethan necessarily. I mean, I know Ethan's kind of the same way, but it's taking us a long time to watch through a bunch of movies. So I do have a list of movies that I plan to be watching through that people have sent us. I'm going to do a couple of shout outs to some of these films right now. Um, the I think Ethan might have seen this one, but I have not. But the Way of Death by Late Night 99. Their new film looks fantastic. I saw the trailer for that. What's that one called? Hold up. I'm doing some searching right on the fly as I'm recording this. Over the Next Horizon. Oh my gosh. So if you need to see an awesome trailer for a movie that's not out yet, go over to Late Night. I'm getting tongue tied. Late Night 99. Head over onto that channel and watch their trailer for Over the Next Horizon. It looks fantastic. It looks so good, so good. That's one that's in my list. What Can Go Wrong by Ethan Stevens. That was his improv movie that he did for the Oscar film thing. I don't know if Ethan sent this one to us, but I'm a huge fan of him and his work. His movies Assassin and oh gosh, what was the last one he did? Oh gosh, it was called something. The Not Now. That's what it was. Not Now. That was an excellent movie. So What Can Go Wrong? Age of Cinema by Low Budget Visions. I don't think I realize a lot of these guys haven't even sent them to us, but they're on our radar, and we're just fans. But by Matt Berry or the Low Budget Visions, that looks fantastic. Gage Clift, he did send us this movie, Singularity. I haven't seen this movie yet, Gage, but I'm really looking forward to watching it. Gage was a part of movies like Seventh or RC Films Not So Amazing, or he's a great short filmmaker on his own right. What was it called? The Something in the Seashell. Gosh, I'm so bad with names of these films. There's so many. Driftwood or The Seashell was great. Waffles, Vine Avenue, great films. Gage, good talented filmmaker. Also, Work From Home. I've seen some of his other ones again from Low Budget Visions, but I haven't seen Work From Home yet. What else? The Printer and the Boy by Zaid Aftab. Super excited to see that one. High Definition. This one's been in my list for a long time by Echolite Entertainment. I'm really looking forward to seeing that one. Just the premise alone is like awesome. And they do a lot of good stuff on that channel as well. I mean, not that these other channels that I'm referencing aren't doing great work, but their films and their just the cinematography and editing style, everything on that channel is just really, really striking. I haven't seen all the movies, obviously, but I've seen a lot of like snippets and clips and trailers, and it really, really entertaining stuff. I'm going through my list. What else? I think all of this other stuff that's been sent to us. I can't see. Oh, geez, I'm forgetting which ones have and haven't been sent to us personally. But there's a lot of stuff in here, a lot of movies to watch. Anyways, what I did last time was I kind of sat down and I binged watched them all in a day. I watched like 8 or so. I can't remember how many, and I took notes and I made a little video about it, and that was a really fun time. So sometime this summer, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to binge watch a whole bunch. I'm going to make a video out of it. I'm going to, try to get through as many as I can. And it's really, it's fun. Fun stuff that I'm looking forward to doing in the summer. Watching a lot more movies. Because again, don't have a lot of time for that during the school year, but during the summer, hopefully that can become more of a regular habit, is actively watching more stuff. That's the key. Actively watching stuff. Which I guess segues into our next, our main topic of today. This was kind of a long preamble, but, thanks for bearing with me. It's not a big topic. It's not something that I have a huge amount to say, but I thought it would be interesting to talk about and just share some of my ideas about this kind of idea. And it ties directly more to film criticism or film reviewing or watching a movie and how you watch a movie, really. Oh my gosh. I can hear my family in the other room. I'm sorry if you hear screaming. That's not a horror movie, or that's no one's in trouble. That's just my family's really happy. And yeah. And yeah, if you hear a witch cackling, that's not, again, not a witch. I'm okay. That's just my sister. When she's happy, she sounds evil. Anyways, so yeah, so the main idea that I wanted to bring up today is I think anybody in the filmmaking space, anybody who has talked about movies before, they've heard this phrase um style over substance. Um, Whether it's seen online, hearing someone say that in a film class or whatever, I think everybody is familiar with that term, style over substance. And I kind of want, and that's always kind of bugged me. And I could never put my finger on why, because to me, there's something just off about that criticism, or something. They'll say, "Oh, this movie's just it's style over substance," or "This movie is all style, no substance." And that to me always felt very odd and strange, and kind of like an easy, kind of smart sounding thing to say that isn't actually that smart or intelligent, because you just say this kind of trigger keyword and it kind of removes, you don't have to explain the nuance of your argument anymore. And it kind of leaves it up to that you just fill in this easy word, and then you don't have to elaborate. You don't have to think for yourself. And I kind of want to talk about my problems with that phrase, style over substance, or um, it's all something's all style, no substance, and why I think when people use that, I'm not sure if they really understand what that means, or the movies in general. Um, so usually, what someone means when they say something is style over substance, or something's all style and no substance, usually what I think people mean is that the movie looks very beautiful. It's a well shot, well edited film, but narratively, the film is lacking in a couple areas, or maybe all the areas. Style obviously refers to, the editing itself, the cinematography, the music, the the formal the choices that the filmmakers have made with the formal techniques that are used. So again, camera work, lighting, sound design, acting, all of that stuff put together is the style of a movie. Substance usually what people mean by substance, they usually refer to the story, the narrative, how it unfolds, why it unfolds, how it's told, all that kind of thing, as well as maybe the themes. What are the issues that this movie's talking about? What's the central dramatic argument? What is the thesis? What's the antithesis? What's the synthesis? That's kind of, what people mean by substance. And I take issue with this. Not because I believe that, substance is bad or style is bad or what. Not that I think any one of those things is bad. Like, a well-made film, good meaning, well, again, I don't believe in well-made films. I don't believe in bad-made films either. But, I should say uniform cinematography, lighting, editing, music, all of that used in a uniform way to create a cohesive visual piece. That's not bad, nor is a film with a compelling narrative or compelling characters, or with a theme that's interesting and intriguing and relatable, or with a central dramatic question with a thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. I don't take issue with the criticism that, this movie is all style, no substance, because I think those things are bad. I take issue with the fact that we associate substance with narrative. I have a problem. I just probably blew really hard in the mic. I have a problem with this. Happens a lot I see in internet spheres. I see it a lot in even film spheres, like in film school and everything. And the way filmmakers talk about film. And this kind of goes back to an old video I made, but I take issue with the fact that we associate a movie's worth with its story or with its themes. I think that's a very narrow way of thinking about cinema. I think substance, to me, again, this is all my opinion. This is all. I'm not right. I'm not wrong. You're not right. You're not wrong. Right. This is just my opinion. I'm just sharing this out there. I think only when you separate story from cinema, only then do you arrive at the conclusion that style and substance are mutually exclusive. Right. So, like, to me, cinema is style, and substance doesn't come from narrative. Substance, I think it's kind of the way a lot of popular movies are made. I think that's where kind of some of this can come from. I think it's also the way filmmakers and we as audience members connect to a film and talk about a film. It's just, I can't ignore the fact that we can't ignore it that narrative filmmaking is the most popular form of filmmaking because let's be honest, I love artsy fartsy pretend well I was going to say pretentious, but like I love kind of out there weird experimental films. I love that stuff. But most of the people don't. Most of the people watch that and are like, "Huh? This is weird. This is dumb." Turn it off after a minute or so, right? What engages most people is narrative and storytelling and characters. And humans have always been like that. We've been that like that since the dawn of time. Ever since we could write stuff down, we've been telling stories. I mean, even before we could write stuff down, we were telling people stories word of mouth. We are storytellers by nature, and I don't have a problem with that. Um, but when it comes to an art form, a different art form, because cinema is an art form. It's a newer art form that's only had about 100 years or so of true evolution, and it does build upon other art forms, but it is an art form nonetheless, unique to itself. And I think when we talk about movies and say the only value that this movie has only comes from narrative, I think that's an issue, and that can stunt the art form. In fact, I think the art form has been stunted for the last 50 years or so. Substance doesn't come from narrative. I think substance, in this case, substance when we refer to movies comes from a color, a motif, editing techniques. So kind of to illustrate that, I mean, I think most film school students have seen this movie, like Battleship Potemkin. I think that's where this example's from. It's a movie. There's a famous stair, the Odessa Steps sequence. Everybody's probably seen at least once or twice. Battleship Potemkin's about this kind of, gosh, I'm forgetting my history and my film knowledge. Anyways, I'm going to try to, if I'm wrong, please correct me. I believe what happens is there is an uprising on a boat as there is a military massacre on the land in Russia. I think. Oh my gosh. Please don't be mad if I probably got that wrong, but I'm too lazy to look it up right now. So, I could be wrong. It's about this uprising that happens on the ship with all these workers who feel oppressed by their I think it's the bosses or the government. I can't remember which one it is, but essentially it's a very politically charged film, and it's about an uprising and a rebellion of sorts, I think, from my memory. Again, I could be totally wrong. In the film, I do remember this. Well, in the film, there is a shot of a bunch of workers as they're, freaking out and getting really riled up and angry and shouting and being very emotional and violent. As they're doing this stuff, there's shots of all these workers kind of crowding on the sides of the boats. I think there's one shot in particular where there's like a couple workers hanging on this wire thing. Like there's I think, picture like, an arm, a mechanical arm, and like a rope or like a chain that's lowering and raising like nets and different things, right? Like to pick stuff up and put it on the ship. I remember this image from this movie where it's just like those workers are on top of they're on top of like the nets. Like there's a bunch of them crowding it, and like some are falling off, some of are just kind of shaking the net. They are just doing their thing. It's a wide shot of these workers all over this thing. And so in the movie, it cuts to an image. I think it was a bunch of maggots on bread, right? There's a bunch of maggots swarming like this piece of bread, or it was flies. I can't remember exactly what it is. But so that thing right there, take that image, take those two images. An image of a bunch of workers crowding this net, for lack of a better word, this hanging thing, cutting to an image of a bunch of maggots on this piece of bread. So, what does that say? What does that mean? What is the meaning behind that? Now, a very kind of surface level, not really actively engaged thought could be, well, why did they cut to that image of maggots? That's weird. It was just being weird for the sake of being weird. It's just there's no reason to show any of that. It doesn't relate to the story. It doesn't relate to the narrative. Wrong. That cut suggests that that's how the workers feel. That's how the oppressors feel about the workers. That's how they're viewed upon. It's making a visual comparison between workers and them feeling like maggots, being treated like maggots. There's intention behind that. That's style right there. That style that can be so easily dismissed by people these days as, oh, there's no reason for that. And a lot of part of picking up, these things comes with active watching, actively engaging in movies and that kind of thing. Think of it like this. When we watch or when we look at a painting or a sculpture, it would be completely ridiculous to look at the Last Supper or I don't know my art history, or the Mona Lisa. I can't name famous paintings, or the statue of David, right? It would be weird to look at those pieces of art and say, it's really well made, wonderful lines, wonderful rendering, great use of colors, great use of values, light and shadow, great use of all that stuff. However, there's no substance, there's no story, there's no narrative, there's no themes here. And again, that's kind of how it feels when you hear someone talk about style and substance with movies, because a film is not comprised of the same, it's comprised of different kind of logics. A painting is comprised of visual logic, right? And rhythm. Music itself, right, is comprised of its own kind of rhythm and logic and ways to engage with it, right? It'd be weird to listen to a piece of music and be like, you know what? I love the sound of the horns. I love the tempo. I love the melody there, but I couldn't tell the story. I couldn't, understand the story. The story wasn't told well, so it doesn't have any substance. That's a weird thing to say. Really think about that. If we engage every single art form that exists on the basis of its narrative worth, that's gonna, that's a weird way of looking at art, I think. Again, I can't fault people for wanting to find story in everything or be engaged by story. I think it's an important part of our cultures worldwide and our human history. But I think to look at something look at movies and any other art form and purely base it on on its merits, only on how well it tells its story, only on its themes. And when I say themes, I mean like narrative themes, right? Because obviously you can have a piece of art, a painting or picture or film, have no narrative, but have theme, right? And telling and exploring that theme through its own visual or tonal logic. So something like, I can't remember who did the piece. There's that painting or there's that statue of like the mother Mary holding the dead Jesus on her lap, right? There's something there. It's depicting grief. It's depicting this moment in time. Now, of course, it's got the benefit of being added to, it's referencing a biblical story. But, it's not like it's telling the full story. I mean, we don't look at that painting and be like, oh, we didn't see Jesus' childhood in here? Where is his childhood? Where is his moment when he decides to die on the cross? We don't see it here. Um, where's his resurrection? How come we don't see his resurrection here? Well, that's because this statue wanted to capture this moment in time, this moment of grief and sorrow and darkness. Was it? It's Good Friday. Oh, geez, I can't remember the names of anything. There's like Good Friday, Saturday is called something, and then Sunday is something else. I can't remember the names. But, like Saturday was the day of darkness, effectively, right? So it wanted to capture that. So you wouldn't look at that painting, or I mean that statue, and say, oh my gosh, there's no Good Friday in this. There's no Palm Sunday. There's no resurrection. It would be weird to engage with that statue on the basis of its narrative, I think. So, and that's not to say that I mean, again, at the end of the day, this is all your opinion. This is all just in my opinion. I'm not necessarily right or wrong, neither are you. This is my feelings on it. And I don't think that, and so for me, when someone says this movie's style, all style, no substance, that to me feels like a very hollow, empty thing, because if you're basing everything on narrative, of course you're going to arrive at the conclusion. Of course, if you look at everything in narrative like, oh, this doesn't tell the story well, yes, but it's not trying to tell a story. And the way it tells that story, or ways it captures a story, is completely different. Some films, some of my favorite films, just forgo story entirely, and there's no narrative, seemingly no narrative to it all. But there's lots of theme, there's characters, there's a study in itself in a way that only a film can do it. Now, that's not to say, though, however, that you can't necessarily critique a film, its style. I can't think of a great example, but I think a good way, an acceptable criticism to me, rather than saying this movie is all style, no substance, I think what you could say instead is that this film's style didn't fit the narrative necessarily, which is even that's kind of a little iffy. So something like, say you made like a movie about the Holocaust, right? You made it set in one of the, like, picture like Schindler's List, but instead of it being black and white, maybe you made it super colorful. The soldiers wore really bright pink uniforms. The kids were, everybody was wearing these bright colors, right? That's a weird stylistic choice, which actually might have an interesting effect if someone colored that in. But I would find that because the film is not trying to do anything experimental, because the film is primarily narrative driven, that the film style, those choices, didn't fit the movie, right? And I think that's another key distinction too. If you're going to critique a movie's style and refer to substance as narrative, you better do that for a movie where that is the intention. I think I'm talking about how cinema is devoid of story, or it sounds like kind of like, I don't mean that necessarily. Some films are narrative based. Some films are visually based. It all depends on what the film is trying to do. And if a film is narrative driven, and the most important thing about that is the story, then I think it does seem appropriate and acceptable to bring up how the style influences or affects the story. And again, even it's a very case by case basis. It's never a uniform thing. I think at the end of the day, art is not a uniform thing whatsoever. It's very weird, very different, very out there. And so don't necessarily listen to me. Kind of what I would encourage everyone to do is, rather than just listen to me rant or rave or whatever, just kind of philosophize about movies or everything, go out and watch movies. Don't just turn them on like I do and, draw or whatever. I mean, turn off the lights, turn off your phone, watch the film in the dark, actively engage with it. Think about the choices that are made. Think about what you liked, what you didn't like, and think about why you liked it or why you didn't like it, all that. And you're going to come to your own conclusions about what movies mean to you, and hold on to those conclusions, and hold on to that, because that is what makes you you, and that's what makes you important and special. And I think that's kind of what I would encourage everyone to do, because that's how I came to the conclusion on all this kind of stuff, all these things and ideas that I'm talking about. I mean, yes, I went to film school, and yes, I make movies, but most of this comes from me just sitting down and watching movies and thinking about them and questioning all the choices, or just noticing things about them, actively watching. I think that's a skill that, maybe not a skill, that's something that everybody has the ability to do, but not everybody necessarily does. So, end of my ideas on style and substance. If you have any questions or comments, or want to add your own voice to it, please, by all means, throw a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the idea. When you hear the idea, when someone says this film is all style, no substance, what does that make you think of? First off, I guess I'd just ask you that. What do you think about that? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts on what is style, what is substance when it comes to movies or works of art in general? And yeah, that's our topic for today. Kind of already did. What are you watching? I did. What are you working on? I will say that as it's coming into June, I'm not sure if I shared this. I did talk about my 12-month challenge, which, if anybody missed it, my 12-month challenge is for the next 12 months, starting in this June, I've been trying to spend more time developing my kind of other passions that aren't necessarily film related. This month I've just been drawing a whole ton, and so July is going to be my animation month. So I'm looking forward to that and doing some more animating. I've dabbled in animation before. I made a movie with some animation bits in it. It's coming out this year. It's called Two Little Ghosts. There'll be more news on that later. But yeah, as always, thank you for listening, everyone. We really appreciate your viewership and your listening-ship, whatever you call it. If you like this episode, if you like this podcast, please give us a follow, give us a subscribe on YouTube. It takes only a couple seconds of your time, but it means a whole lot to us. Plus, we promise to put out some really cool stuff. Yeah, definitely stay tuned for next week. We have a big announcement coming, some big news coming next week, and just more fun stuff on the horizon. So yeah, thank you for listening, everyone, and I hope you have a good week.